So I've got a blank brick wall and I want to put a neon sign right on it. I want to look like it's a glowing neon sign on that brick wall. How do I go about doing that? Using the tricks in Photoshop. I'm also going to jump into Illustrator for a bit and show you, because what we're going to do is use the fact that Illustrator is a vector program, works in points and paths. We're going to use the paths that we can create in Illustrator, bring them into Photoshop, and then start using those with the tricks that are available in Photoshop to create our neon sign. Come with me, we're going to play starting in Illustrator. So I'm going to come back over here to Illustrator and say, I've got a piece of type. Now, when I set that piece of type, of course, I'm choosing Cooper Black, of course, like what else would you use? But you know that this is built in vector information. So if I go to type and change, I get to create outlines. It won't let you do that, by the way, if you got your cursor in the type right there. If I put my cursor in there, it says you must want to retype that. I can't create outlines anymore. But if I get out of there and just say, no, I just want to talk to the object, talk to the type as if it were an object, and go type, create outlines, doink, I get that. I get the paths and the points that the type designer used to create this typeface. Now what I'm going to do is copy that. It comes in my back pocket, and then I'm going to switch to Photoshop. By the way, this is Command Tab. You can see all the open applications on your program, in your computer rather. Control Tab on a PC does the same thing. Here I am in Photoshop. There's my big empty brick wall. Now I want to show you something that has been driving me bonkers because it's really subtle and hard to understand what goes on. When you bring the paths in and say, I want to paste them as paths. Look at this. When I hit Command V, paste, and come back into here into Photoshop and say paste this, I can paste as a path. I can paste as pixels. I can paste as a smart object layers. You see all the choices there. I want to paste this as a path. I want to use the paths that are in there. But I want you to notice up here, look what's going on. My layer is selected. So if I say yes, paste that, doink, it says, well, you've already got a layer selected and you're bringing paths in from somewhere else. You must want to create a vector mask. That's what that looks like right there. Layer, vector mask right there. I can delete it, disable it, unlink it, blah, blah, blah. What I don't want, frankly, is I don't want any of it. So this is cool. Deselect the layer, come back up to edit and say paste, and then say, yes, I do want a path, and do it again. Now, there's my path from Illustrator. It's not a vector mask. It will allow me to work. Yay! As I say, bonkers. So now if I come back to path up here, you notice I've got my multiple menus open. If you don't see them, go to window and say, I want my paths, I want my layers, I got all kinds of stuff open because I mess with it a lot. There's my path, and it says right now, work path. If I deselect it or somehow get out of it, it's going to disappear. So I want to come back up here and say, save my path. It's in that little hamburger menu in the upper corner. So now I've got path one, sure, I don't care. So now I've got paths on this thing that I've got saved. I might blow that up just a bit. Command T or edit free transform will give me a chance to blow that up. Again, just to make you cuckoo, don't hold down Shift key when you resize in Photoshop because that keeps this proportionality. If you do, if you do hold down Shift, you can wreck it. So don't do that. So now I've got path here. I've got my one layer. I'm going to create a new layer because we're going to make our neon sign on a new layer. So I'm going to click here and say, give me a new layer, blank. I don't care what's on it. And then what I want to do is come over here and choose the color. Now, if we wanted to make, say, a pink sign on this thing, I'm getting into my pink area here. What I want to do is choose 3 colors that are going to go from dark to light. I'm going to choose a medium, like the darkest pink, but still not very dark. It's going to still look like it's glowing from a light, from a neon light. So I want to choose something about like that right there, or maybe even a little bit lighter. Then I'm going to choose a lighter color here, and then I'm going to choose nearly white for the very top. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. First, I pick that color and say that's my darkest pink color. Okie dokie. I'm going to get into my brush menu here. We're going to use the brush to paint this neon sign. So if I click on my brush right here, I can choose here. Now, it's important to get into this menu and say, I want to make sure I'm using a regular brush. You can get all kinds of brushes. Also very confusing. Look at that, Cezanne and French detail, and you name it. There's all kinds of stuff available in that menu. that you can add to it if you want to. But we're not doing that today. We're just going to use a regular general brush. Get that top soft round one. Hardness of 0, so it's a softest kind of airbrush. And the first size, depending on the resolution of your image, is probably about 15 pixels. So there. So now what I'm going to do is say I've got the size picked, I've got the color picked. Now what I'm going to do is come over here to my paths menu and say, remember path 1? I want you to stroke that path, hamburger menu stroke path, with my brush. I've got lots of other choices here, but I want the brush to be the one thing that gets done. And because I've got a brand new layer, this is going to get painted onto my new layer. Okay, and it says, oh, I can't do that. There's a problem. I'm going to go back up here and look at my layers. Sure enough, the layer that I want to paint on is not selected. So I'm glad things go wrong when I make these videos so you can see, oh, mine didn't work the way yours did. Here's how to fix that problem. Now come back to paths. Now come back to stroke path, and now say brush, and it says boink. Not too shabby, but it's going to get better. Come back to our color, choose that second level of pink that we want, a lot brighter than that, okie dokie. We're going to make the size maybe 10 pixels or so. I can choose that right here, and then come back to my path menu and say stroke that path again, and brush indeed, and I get that kind of effect. And now you're going to guess, I'm going to choose 5 pixel wide, maybe even 3 pixel wide, and nearly white. I'm going to grab that and come back over here too. So it's got a touch of pink in it. And my last stroke on that goes like that. Stroke the path with the brush. Yes, sirree, Bob. Now if I deselect the path, whoa, right? The only other thing I would probably add to this, I'd go back to my layers menu, is say that neon sign, I want it to float a little bit off of that surface. It's not on the brick, it's actually just a little bit off of it. So I'm going to get into my FX menu down here at the very bottom and get a drop shadow and just say, I want to multiply, I'd like it to be maybe 50 or 40% opaque. I can change the direction of the light that it's coming from. I can change the distance of it, which is kind of cool, how far off of the wall it floats. And so I'm going to let you just have some fun with that because it's a pretty cool trick. But anyway, I hope that you find yourself going, that is pretty sweet in terms of making a neon sign. I'll make another video right after this one about how to take that and put it in perspective on a wall and then create a reflection underneath as though it's like in a puddle or something like that. But hopefully you're having some fun with this stuff. Thanks so much. I will see you later.